In the world of hip-hop, feuds are nothing new. But this one, it's different. Let's break down the lyrical war between Kendrick Lamar and Drake, and how one bar may have ended it all. In the early 2010s, Kendrick Lamar and Drake weren't rivals. They were collaborators. Kendrick had already proven himself with Section .80, and Drake was making waves with Take Care. The two artists were constantly compared, but there was a mutual respect in the beginning. However, it didn't take long before the competitive nature of hip-hop began to fuel their rivalry. Kendrick was focused on lyrical complexity, while Drake leaned into catchy hooks and mainstream success. This difference in style would soon be the catalyst for one of hip-hop's most intense feuds. Little did they know, a series of subliminal shots was about to shake up the rap game for good. When Kendrick Lamar released his verse on Big Sean's Control, it wasn't just a feature, it was a statement. Kendrick came for everyone, including Drake, dropping lines like, "I'm trying to murder you." The rap community was left in shock. Was Kendrick taking shots at Drake? Kendrick never mentioned him by name, but fans were quick to draw the connection. Drake had been the most commercially successful rapper in the game at that point, and Kendrick wasn't pulling any punches. The bar was a challenge, one that would ignite a firestorm of tension between the two. Everyone waited for Drake's response. Drake's response to Kendrick wasn't immediate, but when it came, it was calculated. Rather than a direct diss track, Drake dropped subtle lines on songs like Tuscan Leather and The Language, hinting at his rivalry with Kendrick. He threw jabs without saying Kendrick's name, keeping his hands clean while still taking his shots. Drake was the king of mainstream rap at the time, and he didn't need to engage in a beef that could hurt his commercial dominance. But that silence was deafening. Fans started questioning if Drake was afraid to clash lyrically with Kendrick, especially after Kendrick's explosive verse on Control. At the 2013 BET Cypher, Kendrick Lamar took the stage and let loose once again, this time taking another shot at Drake. During the TDE Cypher, he made it clear that he wasn't backing down from the challenge he had posed earlier in Control. "And nothing's been the same since they dropped Control," Kendrick rapped, referencing the verse that started it all. This line, though subtle, was aimed directly at Drake, reminding the world that Kendrick was the one who started the fire. Fans were loving it. Kendrick had thrown down the gauntlet, and it was clear that he wasn't intimidated by Drake's silence. In 2014, after Kendrick's bold BET Cypher verse, fans were still waiting for a full-fledged response from Drake. Instead of a diss track, Drake came with a different tactic. He dropped 0 to 100, a track that seemed to respond to the tension, albeit cryptically. With lines like, "I don't know whose man this is," he alluded to the rising competition in the rap game. It wasn't a direct shot at Kendrick, but the timing and tone made it clear. While Drake didn't dive into a lyrical beef, his subtle responses left the door open. The rivalry continued to smolder, creating an air of mystery around whether a direct battle was inevitable. In 2015, Kendrick Lamar came back swinging with To Pimp a Butterfly, and King Kunta was more than just a song. It was a lyrical declaration. Kendrick didn't name-drop Drake, but the lines like, "I got a bone to pick," and "I can dig rapping, but I'm trying to murder you," were understood as jabs aimed at the mainstream rap scene, with Drake being at the top of that hierarchy. Kendrick was claiming his spot as the top dog, unafraid to call out those who didn't represent real hip-hop. His words were an attack on the commercialized nature of rap, a message Drake surely felt. By 2016, the tension between Kendrick and Drake had become a topic of debate for fans, but Drake still didn't respond head-on. Fans were left wondering whether Drake was avoiding confrontation or just playing the long game. Despite Kendrick's jabs, Drake's strategy seemed to be one of silence, allowing his music to do the talking while still maintaining his position at the top of the rap charts. Was he afraid to face Kendrick in a full lyrical battle? Or was he just refusing to acknowledge a rival who wasn't worth engaging? Regardless, his silence was starting to speak louder than his words ever could. In 2017, Kendrick dropped The Heart Part 4, and the rap world was on alert. Within the first few bars, Kendrick took aim at Drake and other rappers, throwing one of the most direct jabs of their ongoing feud. "Y'all got till April the 7th to get y'all shut together," he warned, signaling that he was ready for whatever came next. Fans quickly realized the line was pointed at Drake, who had been avoiding direct confrontation. Kendrick was no longer willing to let Drake slide. This track became an official call-out, leaving everyone eagerly waiting for Drake's response. Would he finally take the bait? Drake's response to Kendrick in 2017 came on his Diplomatic Immunity freestyle, where he didn't directly address Kendrick, but hinted at the beef. With lines like, "The whole game's full of liars and I'm just a witness," he acknowledged the tension while maintaining his cool. The freestyle was sharp, confident, and full of wordplay, but it wasn't a direct assault on Kendrick. Many fans saw it as a way for Drake to assert his superiority without engaging in a battle. However, Kendrick's fans weren't convinced. Was this an admission of defeat or just Drake playing mind games? In 2022, Kendrick Lamar dropped The Heart Part 5, and once again the tension between him and Drake was reignited. This time Kendrick didn't hold back. The visuals were shocking, with Kendrick's face morphing into other controversial figures, showing his discomfort with the commercial side of the industry. The verse itself was a blistering critique of fake rap, with subtle shots aimed at the mainstream, Drake included. Kendrick's approach wasn't as overt as in the past, but his bars hinted at the unspoken competition between the two. Kendrick's artistry had matured, but his disdain for the system, and Drake's role within it, was clear. In 2018, Drake released Scorpion, a double album that solidified his dominance over the charts. With hits like God's Plan and In My Feelings, he proved his commercial power was unmatched. While Kendrick was praised for his lyrical depth, Drake had become a global phenomenon. But under all that success, critics questioned if he was avoiding lyrical competition. Kendrick hadn't dropped an album since Damn, and fans wondered if Drake's reign was partially protected by timing. In Scorpion, subtle bars about keeping it quiet and being on top kept the Kendrick tension alive, though never by name. Drake was making moves on a chessboard Kendrick hadn't touched yet. While Drake was dominating the charts, Kendrick was changing history. In 2018, Kendrick Lamar became the first rapper to win a Pulitzer Prize for his album, Damn. A moment that proved lyrical artistry was finally getting recognition beyond mainstream music. The world looked at Kendrick differently after that. This wasn't just a rapper anymore. This was a cultural icon. Unlike Drake's flashier appeal, Kendrick's win cemented him as the people's poet. And while the award didn't contain direct shots at Drake, fans saw it as a major flex. Kendrick didn't need a diss track. His accolades spoke louder. And this was a warning shot to every artist, especially Drake. In 2020, Drake released Laugh Now, Cry Later, a glossy track with commercial polish. But underneath, fans caught on to hidden meanings. Lines like, "I know that they at the crib, going crazy down bad," felt directed at rivals, especially as Drake continued to dominate without addressing Kendrick directly. It was a taunt, a way of saying, "I'm still on top, and you're watching from the sidelines." The video, full of luxury and brand deals, stood in stark contrast to Kendrick's socially conscious persona. This chapter wasn't about bar, it was about dominance by visibility. Drake was reminding everyone he didn't need to beef to win. After years of silence, Kendrick Lamar returned in 2021 with cryptic posts, a rare blog update titled New Thoughts, and a declaration that his next album would be his last with TDE. Fans went wild. Hidden in the message was a quiet confidence, one that many believed hinted at unfinished business in the rap game. Though Kendrick didn't call out Drake, the timing was suspicious. Drake was prepping Certified Lover Boy, and Kendrick suddenly reappeared? People saw the gears turning. This wasn't coincidence. Kendrick's silence had been part of the plan all along. When the message dropped, fans flooded Twitter with theories. Was he planning the final lyrical blow? In late 2021, Certified Lover Boy dropped, and Drake's fans celebrated another successful rollout. The album racked up millions of streams, but critics pointed out a strange emptiness, a lack of lyrical edge. Meanwhile, Kendrick was still quiet, but the tension was growing. Some wondered if Drake had anticipated a Kendrick drop and released CLB early to dominate first. Others felt Drake was using softer, melodic sounds to play it safe, avoiding a battle he wasn't ready for. The name Kendrick wasn't uttered, but it didn't need to be. The shadow loomed large, and for once Drake didn't seem entirely untouchable. In August 2021, Kendrick appeared on Baby Keem's Family Ties, and it was his first official verse in years. The world stopped. His bars were sharp, and one line sent shockwaves. "Smoking on your top 5 tonight." Fans immediately speculated, was he targeting Drake? Kendrick's tone was aggressive, confident, and surgical. This wasn't just a guest feature, this was a warning. The timing was suspicious, with Drake's Certified Lover Boy releasing just days later. Kendrick's delivery hinted at something bigger coming. After years of calculated silence, This track showed that Kendrick hadn't lost his edge and was more than ready for war. He wasn't just back, he was hunting. Despite Kendrick's pointed energy and family ties, Drake stayed silent. Certified Lover Boy was everywhere, topping charts, breaking records. Drake knew how to win the long game. Instead of clapping back, he leaned into success, showing that cultural dominance sometimes outweighs lyrical fire. He posted subtly about haters but never named names. This tactic, ignore and outperform, left fans divided. Was Drake scared to go bar for bar with Kendrick, or was he too big to bother? While critics debated, Drake's numbers kept climbing. His silence wasn't weakness, it was a strategy. Whether it would hold was yet to be seen. May 2022 brought Kendrick Lamar's highly anticipated album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. It wasn't a diss-heavy project, but it was deeply personal, raw, and reflective. Kendrick touched on generational trauma, therapy, and fame. Though he didn't name Drake, he took shots at superficiality in the industry, a critique that some felt landed directly on Drake's polished persona. His lyric, "The industry that killed the creatives," echoed through hip-hop circles. Kendrick wasn't playing the mainstream game anymore. He was redefining it, and once again, he did it without needing to name names. While the album divided some fans, one thing was clear: Kendrick was above the noise, and maybe above Drake. Later in 2022, Drake teamed up with 21 Savage for Her Loss, a project that many saw as a flex-heavy counter to critics, including Kendrick fans. On tracks like Circo Loco and Middle of the Ocean, Drake made jabs about lyrical elites who think they're too deep, possibly referencing Kendrick's introspective style. He rapped about success, silence, and not needing to prove himself with bars. It was Drake's version of a counterattack, stylish, veiled, and rich with double meanings. Though Kendrick wasn't named, his presence was felt throughout the album. Drake was speaking to the culture, reminding everyone that he didn't need to battle. He already won. Kendrick's Mr. Morale tour wasn't just a concert, it was a message. With minimalist sets, therapy couch visuals, and symbolic costumes, Kendrick crafted a narrative of self-confrontation and truth. During one show, he performed N95 in a crown of thorns, a literal symbol of pain and burden. Fans interpreted it as a representation of Kendrick's sacrifice to speak truth in a commercial world. Many believe these visuals and lyrics were critiques of surface-level artists who chase clout, a category some fans placed Drake in. Though he never said Drake's name, Kendrick's artistic statement felt like a cold indictment. His stage was a confessional booth, and hip-hop was listening. In early 2023, Drake performed a rare, intimate concert at the legendary Apollo Theater. It wasn't just a performance, it was a statement. With minimal staging and a heavy dose of nostalgic tracks, Drake walked the audience through his evolution. It felt like a reminder. I've been here, I've done this. Between hits, he spoke on loyalty, betrayal, and staying consistent despite the noise. Comments fans speculated were low-key, aimed at Kendrick's long breaks. He never mentioned names, but his calm confidence suggested he felt no pressure to respond with diss tracks. His power, he implied, was longevity. The message was subtle but clear. Drake doesn't chase, he sets the pace. When Kendrick Lamar won the Grammy for Best Rap Album in 2023, his acceptance speech hit harder than expected. He spoke humbly, but referenced how truth always rises, and thanked those who don't chase the charts but change the culture. Fans instantly drew connections to Drake, whose success is often chart-driven. The speech trended, and debates exploded online. Was Kendrick throwing shade, or was he speaking generally? The room went silent during his words, everyone listening closely. Kendrick didn't need a beat to send a message, just a mic and a few quiet truths. Once again, he moved the needle without saying too much. That's the Kendrick effect. In his 2023 beachside interview with Lil Yachty, Drake got personal, talking legacy, criticism, and whether he'd ever stop. He admitted he doesn't feel done, saying he still has things to say. When asked about being overly commercial or repetitive, he brushed it off with confidence. Though Kendrick wasn't mentioned, fans read between the lines, especially when Drake questioned whether fans really want art or just want to debate it. Was this a response to Kendrick's artsy evolution? Possibly. The interview felt like Drake drawing a line. He's here to win, not impress critics. And whether you love him or not, he knows how to keep the spotlight. Outside of music, Kendrick has been building his creative agency, PG Lang. a mysterious multimedia collective that includes baby Keem, film work, and brand collaborations. Many believe this move signals Kendrick's evolution from rapper to full-blown cultural architect. It's low-key but powerful, much like Kendrick's diss strategy. Rather than flood social media, he's building something bigger behind the scenes. He doesn't respond to artists, he builds empires. Fans noticed how P. Glang quietly took over conversations in hip-hop circles. No flashy campaigns, just innovative moves. And to Kendrick supporters, this was the ultimate flex, creating legacy without shouting. While Drake drops albums, Kendrick drops blueprints. In 2023, Drake dropped Search and Rescue, and fans were split. The track sampled Kim Kardashian and leaned into vulnerability, a noticeable tonal shift from his usual flex-heavy vibe. Some praised the emotion, others felt it was Drake leaning too far into melodrama. Still, it got people talking, and that's the Drake formula. Some Kendrick fans mocked the move, saying this wasn't the lyrical Drake needed to go bar for bar, but others saw it differently, as a strategic pull to keep the spotlight during quiet months in hip-hop. Whether you love it or hate it, one thing's true. Drake knows how to dominate a conversation. When Kendrick dropped The Heart Part 5 in 2022, it wasn't just a song, it was a cultural event. Using deepfake visuals of O.J. Simpson, Kanye West, Jussie Smollett, and others, Kendrick took aim at the complexity of identity and fame. But it was one lyric that made fans perk up, "In the land where hurt people hurt more people." Many believed it referenced toxic cycles in hip-hop, possibly aimed at Drake's never-ending feuds. Kendrick didn't need to name names. He let the artistry speak for itself. The message? He's playing a different game, one with deeper meaning, higher stakes, and visuals that leave the internet shook. Drake's 2023 album For All the Dogs had fans hyped, until they realized it was more vulnerable than vicious. While tracks like 8 AM in Charlotte showcased lyrical sharpness, others leaned heavily into love, betrayal, and emotions. It wasn't a diss project, and that disappointed some fans expecting him to clap back at Kendrick. Still, the album performed well, and Drake's name dominated the charts again. His bars were clean, polished, but left many wondering. Was he dodging Kendrick or staying above it? The lack of direct smoke was strategic, but in the world of lyrical warfare, silence sometimes speaks volumes. Then came the verse that changed everything. Kendrick jumped on Future and Metro Boomin's Like That in 2024 and didn't hold back. He finally named names. Mother, we're the big three, it's just big me. That line alone was nuclear. Directly dissing Drake, J. Cole, and anyone else claiming the throne, Kendrick went from subliminals to straight-up war. The internet exploded. Reactions, memes, think pieces, all over one verse. It was the moment fans had waited years for. The quiet storm had turned into a lyrical hurricane. No more ambiguity. Kendrick had drawn the line and dared Drake to respond. The world was officially on beef watch. Drake finally clapped back, dropping a response track in the same week Kendrick dropped Like That. But instead of all-out war, Drake's approach was surgical. Slick lines, coded bars, and jabs about relevance and jealousy. Some fans loved the restraint, others called it weak. In a battle where fans expected ether-level destruction, Drake gave them chess moves. Was it clever or a missed opportunity? The online debate exploded. Even Drake's supporters were asking, is he holding back or just not ready for a lyrical brawl? One thing was clear, the gloves were off, and whatever came next could define both their legacies. As the dust begins to settle, fans are left asking the ultimate question. Who really won? Kendrick delivered the harder bars. No debate. But Drake's dominance, consistency, and ability to stay in headlines can't be ignored. Kendrick's method is disruption. Drake's is saturation. One raps for revolution, the other for legacy. And in a world where numbers and narratives both matter, the final verdict may not come from either artist, but from the culture. From YouTube reactions to podcast debates, the hip-hop world is still split. But one thing's certain, this beef has reignited interest in real lyricism. And no matter who's crowned king, hip-hop just won.